Welcome to the AJ Awesome Show, a show about my favorite things. My name is AJ and my special guest for this episode is Chris Van Vliet. I hope you like the show! Hello everybody, I'm here with Chris Van Vliet. He has a YouTube channel called Chris Van Vliet on YouTube. How did you get involved with doing wrestling interviews?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's, I've seen you so many times in person, so it's great to actually have this conversation here. My job for ever since I graduated from college has been a TV host and a reporter. And I've been interviewing celebrities, musicians, and wrestlers happen to be one of the types of people that I interviewed. So this honestly kind of happened by accident. I was interviewing a lot of celebrities, and then I just selfishly was like, do you think we could maybe interview a wrestler? And my boss at the time was like, yeah, sure. And that's honestly how it started. I just wanted the opportunity to be able to meet wrestlers and do interviews with them. And I thought, if I'm on TV, maybe we can work this out.
Do you have any advice for me to be a successful interviewer?
Well, like I said on Twitter, I watch your interviews so that I can get tips so that my interviews will be better. But I think the biggest piece of advice that anyone can have if they want to be a good interviewer is to listen, which is, you're very good at that, is to actually pay attention to what somebody's saying after you've asked them the question. And I think that far too often people aren't really listening to what's going on in the conversation and they're just thinking about other things. So I think that that's the best piece of advice. And you're already a rock star at that, AJ.
What is your favorite travel destination? Did I cut out?
You're back now. I got you. So what is my favorite travel destination? Hawaii. Number one is Hawaii. And I've had the good fortune of going there 5 times. So Hawaii, because the weather's amazing. Actually, everything's better there. The food tastes better. The drinks taste better. Hawaii, number one.
The closest I've been to somewhere like Hawaii is Florida.
Okay. Yeah. Although Florida, I lived in Florida for 5 years. It's very humid in Florida. Hawaii is like the perfect temperature all the time.
Do you ever get nervous before interviews?
I'd like to say no, but I think the truth is yes. And it's usually before one that I know is going to be a really big one. I've interviewed The Rock 9 times, which I'm so grateful to be able to say that. But when you're standing outside the room that The Rock is sitting in and about to do an interview with you, you get a little bit nervous because usually, The Rock's a very busy, important man. He doesn't have a ton of time. So the interviews are 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes. I'm more nervous about can I get all this stuff in these 3, 4, 5 minutes that I want, rather than, oh my God, I'm meeting The Rock. Although, the teenager in me is going, oh my God, I'm meeting The Rock. But I think it's more just I want this to go really well. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, which then in turn makes me, nervous, knowing I just hope this goes well.
Who are you the most nervous for in the interviews?
I think it's for sure the first time I interviewed The Rock. And obviously, The Rock is in a lot of movies now. He does a lot of interviews promoting those movies, both junket interviews and red carpets. But the first time I got to interview The Rock was backstage at Raw. And they told us to arrive at 6 o'clock. So we're standing in this room, me and the other people that were going to do this interview with him. And The Rock showed up maybe half an hour later. So as you can imagine, AJ, you've got half an hour of you just looking at the door, waiting. Every time it opens, you think it's going to be The Rock. And that just every time it wasn't him, it just kept making you more and more and more nervous. So I would say that it was definitely that. What about you? Who have you been most nervous for?
I don't know. It has to be either Ryback Cool or Kurt Angle? Have you ever had an go really bad?
Well, my interview with MJF didn't exactly go as planned because MJF's just not a very nice person. So that was one that I planned for it to go one way. It ended up going a completely different way. And, you know, I'd be a really happy person if I never had to do another interview with MJF ever again.
You have won a lot of different awards. Which one are you the most proud of?
Yeah, actually, I have some of them behind me here. Yeah, I've been really fortunate to win 4 Emmys in my career and some other awards, but the one that I'm the most proud of is I won an Emmy for a story about a professional wrestler in the Cleveland area when I was living there named Gregory Iron. And he's the only wrestler in the world that wrestles despite having cerebral palsy. So it was like a really touching story to me, knowing that he had every opportunity in his career that he could have said, no, I can't do this, or this thing's standing in the way. But he kind of powered through and made everything happen. So that one meant a lot to me.
Who would sing Mount Rushmore?
My Mount Rushmore. Oh, so that's so tough, right? It's so tough because there's so many wrestlers and you got to narrow it down to just 4. So I think that everybody's Mount Rushmore should have Hulk Hogan, the man that's behind you as well, Ric Flair. I think that those two for sure. The fact that I was an Attitude Era guy, you know, the heart of my wrestling that I really started to love was in the late 90s. I think you've got to put The Undertaker on there. And I think a lot of people will tell you that he's the best of all time. And then for that 4th spot, it's tough because I think that you can make a real case for Austin and you can make a real case for The Rock. But I think that The Rock's actually done more outside of wrestling. So I will give it to Austin. So Hogan, Flair, Undertaker, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
For me, it has to be Harley Race.
Okay.
Another one has to be Jeff Hardy. I really like all the crazy stuff he does. Same thing as Shane. Shane also is one that I would say is a really good one because he does so much crazy stuff. I really like the type of wrestling that's hardcore, where you do flips off the top of arenas through a table.
Oh, yeah.
And the last one has to go to Cody because he's really, really nice to me, and he's also a really good wrestler.
He is the not only a great wrestler, but a great individual. He's a great guy.
Have you ever lost a good interview because of technical problems?
Yes, I have. And it was so heartbreaking. I got an interview with Kevin Nash, kind of like spur of the moment. It just kind of happened. We had a great 15-minute interview while he was at an autograph signing. And it was so good. It was such good stuff. And I was so excited about this. And we packed all the gear up and we got in the car and we started driving. And this was a 4-hour drive to get to this autograph signing. And I go to my friend, why don't you take a look at the interview and we'll see how it looks. And he's like, I can't hear anything. I'm like, what do you mean you can't hear anything? Turn the volume up. And he's like, no, I'm not joking with you. I can't hear anything. And I'm like, give me that thing. And I'm like messing around with it. And I couldn't hear anything either. The mic wasn't fully plugged in. So we got a great looking interview and we couldn't hear a single thing. So my interview with Kevin Nash never happened. And I understand that you had a similar type story with Dustin Rhodes.
Yes, it was the exact same thing. The microphone wasn't plugged in all the way.
Yeah, so I will say that I have since upgraded my gear significantly since then. So look, it's not foolproof with what we do, but I'm hopeful that that was a mistake that I can learn from and never make it again.
No camera or microphone is perfect.
You're
Every
right.
single camera microphone has its own problems.
You're right. I just wish it was like with an interview that I didn't care about, like MJF, not someone I liked, like Kevin Nash.
What do you do when you're not interviewing people?
Well, my main job is I'm a TV host, and I've been an entertainment reporter since I graduated from college. So that's like my main thing. But what I like to do for fun is I work out a lot. I'm active. I run. I do a lot of fishing. I love movies, so I watch a lot of movies. And I also have, because I love fishing so much, I actually started a fishing company. So I have a fishing company called Woo Tungsten. That's how you pronounce it. Woo Tungsten. So I've got a lot of things, a lot of different things going on.
I saw we were researching you before the interview so we can come up with questions, and I saw that you have a couple of different fishing awards.
Yeah, I think I thought I had some on the shelf here that I could show you, but I'd like to do a lot of bass fishing. And I grew up right on Lake Ontario. There's a lot of smallmouth bass and largemouth bass fishing there. So that's been the thing that I've loved. And I fished a lot of bass fishing tournaments growing up. So that was just something that kind of happened with my fishing partner. So we created this line of tungsten fishing weights. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you don't know what bass fishing is, just, just go along with it. It's a cool thing.
It must be really beautiful living next to a lake like that.
Yeah. Oh, and Lake Ontario is a beautiful lake too. Where is it that you guys live?
We live around St. Louis, like an hour away. And so the closest real big lake that we have is Missouri River. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
biggest that we have.
I think there's a lot of
What do
catfish fishing in there, actually. I saw this on, I think I saw this online somewhere. Yeah.
What do you miss the most from before the pandemic?
Oh my gosh, I miss everything. I think I think the number one thing I miss is human interaction. Like I miss going to wrestling shows or going to sporting events, going to concerts. I miss that we have, all those things that join us together as people in this society. That's the thing I really miss. I appreciate that where I live, for the most part, things have opened up. I really miss the gym a lot. I'm glad the gym has opened back up. But I think I just miss those, like, those are some of the best moments of your life. Those are some of the things that you'll remember forever. That great wrestling show you went to, that epic concert that you attended, whatever, baseball, hockey, football, whatever game. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I miss. And I'm really excited for that to start happening again.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
The first thing I wanted to be was a baseball player, and I played baseball all the way up until college. But I really fell in love with broadcasting as a kid, and I would like record myself pretending to be a radio host. So like broadcaster slash TV host slash radio host was the dream job. I just kind of thought it wouldn't be possible. And, I grew up in a time, unlike you, where YouTube didn't exist, podcasting didn't exist. You were either on a TV station or not. And I just figured I would give it a try. And when I was in college, I wanted to put all my effort into trying to get a job that I didn't dislike going to every day. So it was basically, I was going to try to be a broadcaster. I was going to put all my efforts into that. And if it didn't work out and I had to do something else, at least I could say I gave it 110% and it didn't work out. But I'm really fortunate that it did work out. And I've basically been able to have my dream job.
Where can my viewers find you on social media?
So it's my name, and I know it's a tough name to pronounce sometimes, Chris Van Vliet, but it's spelled VanVliet, and that's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course my YouTube channel.
That's the end. Thanks for the interview.
Thanks, AJ. You are awesome, and thank you for having me on the show.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the AJ Awesome Show. I would like to thank Chris Van Vliet for being my special guest. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.